Well, hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is you're listening to the show. I'm Stefan. Welcome to another edition of Stefan Reads Line News. And boy, oh boy, do we have a doozy today. Let's get right to it. But before we do that, just a quick reminder to like, subscribe, and do all the other good stuff you usually do with YouTube videos. Find us on Twitter at Stefan underscore, you can find me on Twitter at Stefan underscore Tetsu. Find the show on Twitter at small underscore in underscore Japan. And of course, we have a Patreon that's under construction still. It's kind of seen better days at patreon.com/smallinjapan. Anyways, let's get right to it. If this is your first time listening, Line News is a tab on Line, the biggest messaging app in Japan, that has aggregated news sources from around the country, and I think there's an algorithm that spits them back out at the viewer, or in this case me, and I read what the algorithm has given to me every single day on this here YouTube video series. So there are 2 rows of stories normally, and then there are 3 actual news headlines sandwiched between those rows of stories. But today, surprisingly today, by the way, I should probably mention this earlier, is the 6th of September. There is a breaking news story above the first row of fluff stories, and let's get right to it then. So, story number 0 today on Line News is that the former organizing chief of the Tokyo Olympics has been rearrested. This time he's being investigated. This is all part of the same investigation. I should say, corruption investigation here. This time he's being investigated for allegedly taking a wire loan of 76 man. How do I say that in English? Oh God. Add 4 zeros. Hold on, I'm doing math in real time. I should probably cut this out in post. I won't though. 1, 2, 3, 4. Carry the 1. 76 million yen. So that would be like $76,000, I guess. Yeah, about that. Yeah, $76,000. Or maybe $80,000. Maybe some more. No, $760,000, I believe. Yes, indeed, that's what it is. Sorry, that was a whole waste of time. Anyways, he's being arrested for allegedly taking $760,000. Maybe, well, if you round up with the current exchange rate, it'd be like $850,000 from Kadokawa, which is a publishing company. It should be noted that in addition to Kadokawa, last time this guy was arrested for taking money from Aoki, the clothing brand, and he took a wire transfer of $510,000. So he took more money from this publishing company than he did from Aoki. This is just continued corruption being revealed in the selection of Olympic sponsors and all that jazz. I think we've all known for years that this is how the Olympics normally go on. But Tokyo appears to be the first time that people are actually getting in actual serious trouble for this sort of stuff, which is, it's honestly expected the way the Olympic Games are being held and all the various scandals that were happening leading up to the game, including, the whole Boot Olympic things where they're trying to get Watanabe Naomi to show up in a pig costume and all that sort of stuff. So the Olympics continue to not be great, even though it's been like a year and a half since they were actually it's been a year since they were actually going on here in Tokyo. Anyways, let's move on to the actual fluff stories today. There's actually a news story I want to get to, or it's not a little bit later, so let's kind of power through these. Story number 1. So this is just another useless TV show summary. Okamura Takashi from 99 got scolded by his wife for buying too many useless kitchen appliances and goods. He was on Yasutomo no Doko Iko, which is a TV show in Kansai. Terebi Osaka, hosted by Unabara Yasuo Tomoko, which are like a big named Yoshimoto group in Osaka, most of all. They're probably around like Nakagawa K levels of like they're like borderline Shisho class at this point, so they're pretty high up in the company hierarchy. Anyways, Okamura was on their show, and he talked about how he's kind of addicted to buying stuff from Daiso. But his wife gets angry when he buys like useless kitchen products and stuff, even if they're 100 yen. Yeah, so don't buy useless junk, Okamura. Okay, story number 2. So this is another pointless. Here's a picture that was on Instagram story, but horse jockey slash beautiful or famous for being beautiful, I guess. Fujita Nanako took a matching necklace picture with former idling member Morita Ryoka, and the internet went appropriately crazy apparently. So this article is pretty much just about like all the various wow, surprising, good, so cute comments that they got on their Instagram posts of this picture. So that is the story. Yeah, it's not a story, but that is the story as given to me by the great algorithm. So that's the first row of random fluff stories. Let's get to the second row, where you'll find story number 3 is probably, well, at least not to me. Maybe if you're not an Oh What I fan, it's a useless fluff story. But this is not a useless fluff story to me. So the King of Conto finalists have been named for 2022. King of Conto, of course, is one of the 3 big Oh What I guess there's 4 big Oh What I contests, comedy contests in Japan at this point. There's M1 Grand Prix, which is the Manzai contest. There's R1 Grand Prix, which is like the solo comedian contest. And then there's the W, which is like the female, the woman comedian contest, hence W. And then finally, of course, King of Conto, which is Conto comedy, which is like sketch comedy, skit comedy. And King of Conto is the first contest that normally airs every single year. It's like it happens in normally the first weekend of October, I believe. But they finally, or not finally, but they announced the 10 finalists today. And unsurprisingly, most of the finalists are Yoshimoto. Perhaps surprising not necessarily to me, but because I've always thought these guys were funny. But a lot of the finalists this year are people that I used to be on shows with all the time, like stage shows with back in my heyday at Mugen Dai Hall. I was actually in a play with one of these compis for a while. So the finalists, and maybe I'll go through some of them as we go along. Some of them are actually surprising to me. You have Inu, Yoshimoto, Kagaya, not Yoshimoto, Kurokoppu, which isn't Yoshimoto, Kotton, Yoshimoto, who I was also with. I also starred in a drama with, or not a drama, but in a stage play with for a while together. Saiko no Ningen, which I have never heard of before. I think that's actually a unit. Nippon no Shacho, Yoshimoto, but Osaka Yoshimoto. So Nelsonzu, Yoshimoto, Tokyo Yoshimoto. I was in shows with them, along with Inu. Biscuit Brothers, also Yoshimoto. Yatan, Yoshimoto. No, Yatan's not Yoshimoto. Long Coat Daddy, Yoshimoto. They're Osaka Yoshimoto. I've had to translate so many of their videos, or their stage shows for Yoshimoto projects. Yeah, so those are the 10 finalists. I got distracted there, kind of giving asides about all the people that I've worked with here. But yeah, this is like a relatively, well, I want to say relatively young, but I'm not young at this point, so I can't really say that these guys are all young, because these are all my senpai in various ways. But it's a relatively young finalist group compared to some of the past years where you've had like 20-year pros. I think Inu is like a 12-year pro group at this time, and Kotton's around that. They're like 10-year pros. But yeah, I mean, that's still relatively young by Shoreis Kaowarai contest standards. It's a pretty young group. Pretty good collection of like not people that aren't huge names yet that could become huge names if they win this contest. of course, in King of in the show race in the comedy show contest hierarchy, King of Konto winners generally tend to not be as successful in the long run as M1 finalists. M1 finalists, if you win M1, you pretty much end up becoming like a huge star. I think this has pretty much come out. It's been born out by the past 20 or so years of results of M1, where a lot of the M1 winners have gone on to host TV shows and be some of the biggest names in comedy at this point. Where King of Konto, some of the finalists are still kind of B, C level comedians. In one of the cases, one of the people here, Saiko no Ningen, this is a special unit just formed for this year, is it actually features a former winner or a former King of Konto finalist from a past. His old group broke up, and he's performing together with Yoshisumi, who won the W. God, this is all very confusing. A couple years ago, and they're together as a unit, and they made it to the finals of King of Konto. The last couple of years, we've kind of started to see some temporary units, break through to the final round of these comedy contests. Oideyasu Koga, of course, made a huge impact on M1 a couple of years ago as like a solo comedian unit, and now they're pretty big names. So we'll see if Saiko no Ningen has that same result in this year's contest. Probably not. So yeah, I'll keep you guys. I of course, as a Yoshimoto comedian myself, kind of. I was really interested in these King of Konto contests. Of course, my own comedy unit way back in the day got to the quarterfinals of King of Konto. So this is my quote-unquote specialty. Not really. Anyways, moving on, story number 4. Let's just power through. I've been going on way too long today. Number 4 is a fluff piece, just complete and total PR, for a new drama starting in October, starring AKB slash iZone. I don't know if that's how you say it. It's the Korean pop group that featured like AKB family members. It's starring AKB's Hitomi Honda. She's going to be this for the first time. She is going to be starring in a drama, and for the first time in 3 years, she's going to have black hair, which is news according to this fluff PR piece. So stay tuned for that, apparently. All right, so those are the 4 pointless fluff stories, although today some of them maybe weren't as pointless as others. Let's get to the actual news headlines today rather quickly, because they aren't exactly in-depth stories today, I have to say. Story number 1, Typhoon 11, which we've covered for the past couple weeks here on the show, is still a thing. It plowed right into Kyushu, and according to this story, one person died falling off of his roof during the typhoon. Don't go on your roof if you're in the middle of a hurricane or a typhoon. Basic news. It was like a 77-year-old guy who fell off his roof. I don't know what he was doing on his roof during a typhoon once again, but that's what happened to him. 4 other people were injured, and over 35,000 houses are without power. So overall, not a great event going on down there. I know I was looking at the weather for my hometown of Sacramento, and Sacramento currently is like embroiled in like 110 degree weather. 110 degree heat. Meanwhile, over here we're getting typhoons in the middle of September, which I guess is how things normally are. But this is like a super typhoon, quote unquote. So, it's stay safe. Looks like it's kind of veering off of course now. It's veering away from Japan at this point. It's going to be going like straight through the middle of the Sea of Japan. So hopefully no one's going to get severely affected by this thing going forward, but you never know. It could always change course and like plow straight into like Hokkaido or something. So anyway, story number 2, quickly, ex-Prime Minister Suga is going to speak at Abe's state funeral. So Shinzo Abe, of course, was shot and killed in July. He's gonna have a state funeral. That's been controversial over the last couple. God, I can't talk today. I can't talk ever really. Over the last couple of weeks, but his former right-hand man / his successor as prime minister / one of the most unpopular prime ministers in modern Japanese history is going to be speaking at the funeral on behalf of his friends in September. So this month. It's going to be on the 27th of September, I should say. Yeah, sorry. Story number 3. Let's get this over with. It's not a good story to end with, but it's the story nonetheless. So the Japanese Self-Defense Forces, in other words, the Japanese equivalent of the army, announces it's going to have a special investigation into a gang sexual assault that happened during Sudan relief efforts. So a former Jietai, former Japanese Self-Defense Force member, a woman, has come out repeatedly over the last couple months with the story about being gang raped by a group of fellow members of the Self-Defense Force, fellow soldiers. And today, the Ministry of Defense has announced it's going to look into it. So hopefully things get figured out there. This happened back in 2017. Wait, did it? No, it. How? I guess it could have technically happened in 2007. That would make her like 17 when she got gang raped. I don't. Can you get into the army here when you're 17? I have no idea. So I might be missing something here. Maybe she's gonna be 20. I don't know. And so that's it for the story, for the news today. Yeah, it's a kind of a rough news day there, I guess. No one likes to end the day talking about gang rapes in the military, but it's a story that needs to be told, and for the proper punishment needs to be dealt out there. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, I am Stefan. Take care, stay safe. Hasta la vista. I will see you tomorrow.